Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. I hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today, especially in the world of AEW. Of course, tonight it's AEW Fight for the Fallen edition of Dynamite on TNT. So we are going to be talking about that. But what we are going to talk about first is some concerns reportedly that AEW has for their big shows set for, of course, Chicago. You've got that big week of AEW programming in Chicago in September. You've got Dynamite, Rampage, and then All Out, of course, in September too. You've got the September 22nd edition of Dynamite, which of course is the AEW Dynamite Grand Slam event in Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. Of course, that's AEW's debut in the big New York City area. So it's a big couple of months coming up for AEW, and reportedly AEW does have some concerns going forward, possibly with the pandemic disrupting or massively changing their plans for these big events that are set to come up later this year. So this is first reported by, once again, Cassidy Haynes of BodySlam.net, who of course has been all over AEW, of course, of the last week or so, was first to break the story about Daniel Bryan reportedly signing with AEW, has provided new details on CM Punk possibly signing with AEW, his possible appearances at those aforementioned Chicago shows as well. So really, he's been point and center for a lot of stories regarding AEW recently, and he reported this update last night, which is very, very interesting, and it's about AEW being extremely concerned about COVID possibly disrupting events in Chicago, New York City, and for the remainder of the year. Now, this basically comes from the new Delta variant and cases of this Delta variant of COVID rising every day in the United States. Of course, we over here had to deal with this as well in the United Kingdom too. And because of this, the United States have began instating new mask and virus testing mandates in certain states. With more seemingly coming, there's now internal concern reportedly in AEW about their current plans going forward. Now, according to Cassidy Haynes of BodySlam.net, when he was speaking to sources within AEW, he was told that AEW is extremely concerned about the recent surge in COVID cases possibly disrupting their events for Chicago, New York City, St. Louis, and beyond. Now, over the last week, discussions have ramped up in AEW internally as COVID cases have begun to rise across the United States. This has caused AEW to begin conversations about what to do if there is once again another shutdown, lockdown, or if states start to tighten up their sanctions or their rules regarding COVID, mask mandates, etc., up into and including a potential prolonged return to Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida once again. Now, of course, I know a lot of people will be saying, oh, no, not again, because, of course, AEW has just left Jacksonville. They've just left their residency at Daily's Place. They made a big deal about it, of course, on that edition of Dynamite a couple of weeks ago, prior to going back on the road for Road Rager, Fyter Fest, Fight for the Fallen, etc. They made a big deal about all of the shows that they had done during the pandemic at Daily's Place. They released that great video package that ended Dynamite that week as well. Of course, they are going back to Daily's Place in Jacksonville on the August 4th edition of Dynamite for AEW Homecoming, but the intention was, and certainly the marketing was, that this was going to be the last time they were going to be at Daily's Place in Jacksonville for an extended period of time, because they were back on the road full-time. They had all of these events planned, like I mentioned, New York, Chicago, St. Louis, Cincinnati, Ohio, like they're just promoting now with John Moxley, all of that kind of stuff. And there is a concern that because of this rise of cases in the United States, AEW might have to go back to Jacksonville, and this is going to cause some changes. So that's certainly interesting as well. In addition to this, Cassidy Haynes is reporting that it's an all-hands-on-deck type of situation currently, but, quote, ultimately, Tony has to make a decision about what's right for the talent, staff, and especially the fans. With the CDC now recommending national mask guidelines, the concern is that it's only a matter of time before they recommend the banning of large gatherings, possibly in certain states. Now, Cassidy was once again told that their biggest concerns are the status of the upcoming shows in Chicago and New York City, as both cities have been quite proactive in regards to the preventative measures in an attempt to stop the recent surge of new cases. Now, Chicago's Mayor Lori Lougher has recently said that the number of cases in Chicago could necessitate the reinstatement of the city's mask mandate, as well as other potential restrictions, including, of course, mass gatherings being reduced, etc. Now, as for New York, the city will now require its municipal workers to get vaccinated or they will face weekly COVID-19 tests. As for St. Louis, the city currently has also reinstated the indoor mask mandate on Monday in an attempt to stop the spread of COVID-19. So, long story short, and I know I've gone on quite a lot there, internally, AEW is planning to continue with their current plans. As of right now, until they're told they can't or they shouldn't, they're going to carry on as if things are, as things intended or as things are meant to carry on. But they are paying quite a lot of close attention and constant attention to what these local authorities in Chicago and Cook County and New York City and other parts of the country are doing right now. So the company potentially, and this is the issue for AEW right now, is that obviously, look, I've mentioned it several times here on the channel that the second half of this year, July to December, arguably is probably the biggest sort of, 5-6 months in AEW's history. And I know people will say, well, you're overstating that. They had the debut of the company, the debut on TNT, all that kind of stuff. But the plans that AEW truly has in place right now are huge. And I think we've spoken about it before. CM Punk, Bryan Danielson coming in, possibly some other names as well. Game-changing signings, great ratings as well recently. We were talking consistently over 1 million viewers and tickets selling out for stadium shows like the Arthur Ashe Stadium show, like the week in Chicago, whether it's Dynamite, Rampage, or All Out. These are big times and big moments for AEW, and I think they feel there is so much momentum with them right now, and signings like Punk, signing like Daniel Bryan really do continue that positive momentum that they have. And I think their concern is right now that these COVID restrictions are quite fluid, and certainly cities like Chicago, like New York City, they're going to be a bit like, look, we're not going to risk the people that live here, and we're going to put back these restrictions, and we're going to put back on certain ramifications that mean you can't do big stadium shows, or you can't do arena shows, or you have to wear a mask indoors, all that kind of stuff. I think AEW is concerned, but ultimately, look, is it annoying? Is it frustrating? Absolutely. And I think AEW will be frustrated by that if it does come to that, of course. But at the end of the day, we're talking about lives. This is my personal view of it, and I know that some people might not agree with me here. But at the end of the day, we're talking about lives, and we're talking about saving lives, and we're talking about preventative measures that scientists and health officials are recommending. And unfortunately, that's just the life we're living in right now. I know, trust me, I know. I'm speaking as someone now who lives in a country where all restrictions have essentially been lifted now, and we're seeing a surge in cases as well. That I know everyone wants this to be over, and Lord knows we've been sat inside for about 18 months, and it has been tough, but I think the idea that we're out of the woods here and we're at the end of the tunnel isn't true. We still are living in a pandemic. We still are living in these unique and bizarre times. And look, there's an Olympics going on right now in Tokyo where everyone has to stay indoors. There's a state of national emergency. And, I think we are, for at least maybe the next 6 months or so, or who knows, going to this situation where things open up, they close, they open up. And I think people are still trying to figure this out. The only positive I would say, and it's not a positive, but, an element of hope about all of this, is that even if worse comes to worse and the shows in Chicago don't go ahead, or the shows in New York City don't go ahead, and that would be incredibly, incredibly disappointing. I think what we have to look at is that I don't think that changes CM Punk or Daniel Bryan debuting with AEW or signing with AEW or anything like that. It would just mean, it's like Matt Hardy and Brody Lee making their debuts last year. They would have taken place in one place, and for whatever reason, because plans changed, they'll have to do it somewhere else. They'll have to do it in Daily's place in Jacksonville. Would we have preferred to have Brody Lee last year, especially now that we know now, but would we have preferred to have Brody Lee make his AEW debut in Rochester, New York, his hometown, to a huge reaction? Of course we would. Would we have had broken Matt Hardy have that big AEW debut in front of a live crowd? Once again, of course we would. But that's the time we're living in right now. But it's certainly interesting that AEW are aware of this and they're having discussions about this because they know it could be a potential issue going forward. So it's something certainly to keep an eye out, and certainly AEW will look to address it if they have to. Now, speaking of that show in Jacksonville in a couple of weeks, This is interesting as well. We have a TNT Championship match scheduled for that show. Now, on Monday's episode of AEW Dark Elevation, Lee Johnson defeated Luther to earn a chance at the TNT Championship, currently held by Miro, on the August 4th edition of Dynamite Homecoming. Now, the match was put together by AEW's Elite GM Invitational Tournament winner Pulse. Now, Miro confronted his next challenger after Johnson defeated Luther. Miro said in his promo, "Your last opponent was picked by the fans. Your next opponent is picked by God." Now, AEW, of course, is set to return to Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida on August 4. Miro's last TNT Championship defense came on the June 30th edition of Dynamite at Daly's Place. It must be said with Miro, this is easily the best work that he has done in AEW right now. This whole TNT Championship reign. You got the Bulgarian TNT Championship with the white strap and the green ribbon as well. I think is great. And, you know, I'm not going to criticize AEW much more when it comes to Miro. I felt personally, I think a lot of people did, that was just slightly confused by Miro's booking coming in to AEW of, you know, the pairing with Kip Sabian. Not that that was bad, but the arcade stuff, the best man, it just felt not the best use for Miro. And when Miro was released by WWE and he signed with AEW, there was so much happiness and excitement that finally Miro was going to be booked in a way that he could be a world champion, and he still absolutely can. Finally, he was going to be booked in this positive manner. We were going to really see the best of him, and we didn't for a while. We didn't. He was stuck in this weird gimmick. It was part of a tag team, but it didn't even feel like he was the main part of a tag team. He just felt like the must-win. It just felt very strange. But the developments that have happened since then, since he split with Kip Sabian, since he became the Miro that we wanted to see, basically. Since we've seen all of that and he's become TNT champion, defeated Darby Allin, all that kind of stuff, this is the best version of Miro. You look at this version of Miro and you say, look, if we didn't have a heel world champion right now in Kenny Omega, Miro would be in that conversation. And I think he will be later on down the line, especially when you've got the likes of maybe Hangman winning that championship from Kenny Omega. So I'm excited for that. Look, of course, Lee Johnson isn't going to win the TNT Championship, but that's crazy. That's just not going to happen. But I really am certainly very much enjoying Miro's work so far as TNT Champion. Now, of course, the debut of AEW Rampage is getting closer and closer and closer, and AEW officials are reportedly working on international TV deals for the new AEW Rampage show. Now, of course, the weekly 1-hour AEW Rampage show is scheduled to premiere on Friday, August 13 at 10 p.m. Eastern on TNT in the United States. Now, Dave Meltzer has noted in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer radio show that AEW is working on securing international TV deals for Rampage. It's expected that Rampage will air live on TSN in Canada. TSN said to stay tuned when asked about the show airing, and word is now that the negotiations are ongoing, but Rampage on TSN is not a done deal as of right now. As far as Rampage over here in the United Kingdom, fans in the UK will likely have access to Rampage through Fight TV. It's believed that a live airing of Rampage will be included in the monthly subscription that includes weekly live Dynamite airing and other perks as well. As far as fans in Australia and New Zealand, they're expected to have access to Rampage through Fight TV subscription as well. They're also working on deals that will see Rampage air live in India. AEW also has negotiations underway with the network in Brazil to air Rampage in Portuguese. Other deals are currently being worked on as well for Rampage to air in parts of South America, Germany, Italy, France, and parts of Africa too. So it looks like we are going to see this internationally. I know sometimes, and this isn't an AEW thing as well, this used to happen with WWE, even over here in the United Kingdom, where shows would debut over in the United States, and we wouldn't see them for a while over here in the UK because the TV deal hadn't been agreed yet. I still think when it comes from a UK perspective, I can't really comment on the TV deal they have in Canada or other countries because I'm not from there and I don't watch it through there on a regular basis. What I will say when it comes to the TV deals that they have in place in the United Kingdom, you know, initially AEW, Cody Rhodes bragged a lot that they had such a great TV deal over here in the UK. Way better than WWE. Our TV deal was so much better than WWE's. And he was referring to the fact that, if you're not aware, basically over here, WWE used to air on Sky Sports, which is a subscription premium service, but now it airs on BT Sport, and it has for the last couple of years. So Sky Sports, you know, not everyone has Sky Sports, but again, because it's a premium service. So less people have BT Sport. You know, it's become more popular over the years, but less people have it than Sky Sports. So the viewing figures, in reality, especially live over here early in the morning, for BT Sport are very low, very, very low. And AEW, their television deal over here in the UK, if it doesn't air on Fight TV, airs on ITV4. And now ITV, certainly ITV4, is available Freeview. You don't need to pay for it. All you need is an aerial to put at the back of your television, a Freeview television, and you can get it for free. It doesn't air live. I think it airs Saturday nights, Sunday nights, something like that. So it airs on a delay as well. But because it's free to air, obviously way more people watch it. So Cody Rhodes was like, our TV deal was so much better. And they were going to have highlights of Dynamite being added to the ITV's, what's it called, ITV Plus. That was going to be their on-demand streaming service the day after, and it never was uploaded on time. It was glitchy as hell, so they stopped doing it, and now it's just on ITV4. But they've certainly piped down AEW about how great their UK TV deal is, because yes, they outdraw WWE in terms of viewing figures because they should. It's on free-to-air television, but it's not live. You have to pay for that on Fight TV. So realistically, AEW's television deal in the UK is just the same as WWE's. So I think when it comes to Rampage, like the report says, I think it will likely air on Fight TV for people over here in the UK. Obviously, in the United States, we know what that case is. Now, of course, tonight is Fight for the Fallen, and Ricky Starks has confirmed he will celebrate his recent FTW Championship victory on tonight's broadcast on TNT. Now, the Fight Fest Night 1 edition of Dynamite on July 14 saw Starks capture the FTW Championship from former Team Taz partner Brian Cage. Starks then took to Twitter this week and confirmed there will be a championship celebration at Fight for the Fallen. Now, the celebration was first mentioned during a backstage segment last week on Fight Fest Night 2. Cage later indicated he was planning to show up to crash Team Taz's party. He further teased an interruption on Twitter when responding to AEW's tweet on how this will be a New Orleans-style celebration for Starks, who, of course, is from the city. So they're going forward with that tonight. I think we're going to see a situation, obviously, like you said, when they do a celebration, Brian Cage comes out. I'll be honest, I thought Brian Cage's promo last week on Fyter Fest, when he was sort of commenting on Team Taz saying they were going to do this celebration, I thought wasn't the best promo. Brian Cage isn't exactly known for his promos. I think that's what made the Taz management, or the Taz mouthpiece, so great with him. I'm really glad for Ricky Starks, so I think he's money. I think he's absolute money. He's super, super over, and that wasn't just because he had a hometown crowd when he beat Brian Cage. He's super over, he's super talented, and I'm interested to see what the segment looks like tonight as to what happens. I would suspect, again, they're saying it's going to be a New Orleans-style celebration, so they'll have all that kind of accoutrement, if you will, involved in that, and Brian Cage will get involved and probably, I don't know, try and powerbomb Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, or Hook, or anything like that. He's the real star, Hook being involved, of course. As I mentioned, it is Fight for the Fallen tonight, and we have a bit of a preview of what has been already announced for tonight's show. So the current lineup is as follows. We have Thunder Rosa versus Julia Hart, of course, of the Varsity Blondes. We have Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage, which is the Five Labors of Jericho Chapter 2 in a no-rules match. Of course, that's Painmaker version of Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage, who, of course, just lost the GCW World Championship to Matt Cardona over the weekend as well. We're going to have that aforementioned celebration for the FTW champion Ricky Starks. We've got FTR with Tully Blanchard versus Santana and Ortiz with Conan in their corner. We've got Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus facing off against Private Party and Angelico. We've got QT Marshall and The Factory apologizing to Tony Schiavone. We've got Tony Khan making a major new live event announcement. That could be the United Center show in Chicago. That's been rumored. We'll have to wait and see about that. We also have the IWGP United States Championship match between Lance Archer and Hikuleo as well, which is going to be very, very good. And we also have that big main event 10-man elimination tag team match. We've got the Elite, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and the Good Brothers facing Hangman Page and the Dark Order. If Page and the Dark Order win, they receive future championship opportunities from Omega and the Bucks. If they lose, they can no longer challenge for either championship. I wouldn't be surprised. I know a lot of people are expecting Hangman and Dark Order to win here. I wouldn't be surprised if they throw a bit of a monkey wrench in this one and they have maybe, just maybe, the Elite win and we go a different direction to get to that championship match between Omega and Page All Out. But I suppose we're looking at what? We're pretty much in the beginning of August now. Maybe they decide, look, we'll make Page the number one contender tonight, and then we've got 5 weeks to build to that match. I can see that happening as well. I think I'm so morbidly curious about what Jericho versus Nick Gage looks like tonight. I don't even know if Jericho truly knows what he's getting himself in for when it comes to Nick Gage. I don't know if they're going to do the whole, because look, when you do a Nick Gage match, you're doing light tubes, you're doing pizza cutters, you're doing glass and all that kind of stuff. I just don't know if they're going to do that on TNT. Are they realistically going to do that on TNT? Are TNT going to go for that? Do TNT even know what a Nick Gage match looks like? I don't know, but they're going to have to do weapons because Nick Gage isn't going to be doing, headlocks and collar and elbow types. That's just not going to happen. So, again, I'm morbidly curious as to what that looks like. I don't know if Jericho knows what he's getting himself in for. Of course, Jericho's winning. There's no doubt about that. But we are going to have blood. We're going to have violence. And we had a lot of that last week in that Texas Deathmatch main event as well. So there's certainly a lot going on tonight. And I'm fascinated to see what happens. I'm fascinated to see the ratings as well. But look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all these AEW news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, get the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.